It is live. Live, live, live. There it is. We live. We have a live show for another
Whew.
week. Another week now that you're all healthy.
Yes, the kids are amazing little plague distributors.
Well, that's why kids were created, was to distribute the plague throughout the globe.
Yes, they make sure that we all have fantastic immune systems.
Mm-hmm. That's their job. One of their jobs. The other one is to take out the trash, but they're not very good at taking out the trash. They're more effective
You
plague
know,
distributors than they are trash taker-outers.
funny thing, my younger one is great at taking out the trash because she's madly obsessive about making sure the trash doesn't overflow.
Ah, well, I guess OCD has its fine points.
Yep. But it's kind of entertaining because she's madly obsessive about making sure the trash doesn't overflow, but then she's also obsessive about washing her hands. So she'll wash her hands like 5 times. The cat licks her hand, she has to wash her hands.
Uh huh. Well, OCD.
Entertaining child.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, I want to put honey all over her hands, just see what happens.
Watch her lick it off like a cat.
Actually, that's probably the first thing she'll do, yeah.
Uh-huh. That'd be the first thing she'd do is start licking it off. I'm sure.
Yeah, at least she doesn't eat floor snacks much anymore.
Mm.
What is it with kids and floor snacks?
I couldn't tell you.
I'm pretty sure I was still a floor snacker when I was a teenager. It's
Mm.
like, oh look, somebody dropped some chips on the floor. They're still good.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good for the immune system.
That is also true.
Exposes you to different things in mild amounts. I learned the hard way. You should never cultivate the bacteria that's growing in your garden, and then sniff it.
And then sniff it.
Yeah. Never cultivate the bacteria that's in your garden. Or culture it. I guess it's culture it. Yeah, I still won't forget that lesson I learned in biology in college.
I bet you. How long were you down for? Like a couple weeks?
A couple weeks, the doctor had to give me the strongest available antibiotics
Oh my gosh.
to clear it up, because nothing was clearing it up. So I cultivated one nasty. Germ.
Did you tell your doctor how you got sick?
Maybe.
Ah,
was
the
that?
things we learn.
Uh-huh. Bacteria
So do
in
you,
your garden. That's why it's good
so,
for you. It's
so,
good for you when you're gardening because you get exposed to it in minor amounts.
mm,
But it's not good for you when you cultivate it in a lab.
I don't think anything bacterial stuff is really good for you in a lab.
No, probably not.
You purify it and strengthen it.
Yep, that's exactly what I did. I purified it and strengthened it because because the job was you take a Ziploc bag full of dirt, you mix it down in the water, then you take the water and you put it into another dish and purify it down even further, and then you get it in another dish and purify it down. Then you put that into a culture gel and let the bacteria grow. And you can see the bacteria growing. It just multiplies like crazy on that little gelatin stuff in the lab. And then once it gets to a certain point, you take all these different types of antibacteria tablets and you put them on there to test to see which ones kill the bacteria, which ones don't.
Hmm. That'd be really cool to watch.
No, it was really cool to watch. It was really quite fascinating.
But you just had a total ADHD moment where you had to sniff it.
Yeah, well, I looked at it and I looked, well, that's kind of interesting. I took the lid off and I went, oh, I wonder what it smells like. Not really any smell at all. Put the lid back on, put it away. Wasn't the most brilliant move to do, but hey.
ADHD moment.
Curiosity.
My daughter and I were talking about ADHD and impulse control issues earlier.
Hmm.
Things like every ADHD kid knows pretty much exactly how long it takes before, like every HD kid will hold their hand over a candle to see how hot it is. Every ADHD kid essentially figures out how long it takes before that candle actually starts burning them, because they don't think about the fact that they're possibly damaging themselves. They just want to know how long it'll take.
Yeah, well,
ADHD impulse issue.
ADHD and OCD comes in all sorts of forms.
Yep.
Mine is distance and time. All right, and on that, it's a little time for doing some time and carry on to the show.
Down Highway 49.
Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time.
Preacher man discovered, passed down from saint to sage, like a kind-hearted lover who's been lost on this stage. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time.
Most definitely mine. It is time. Let's get this show on the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
The hottest WordPress plugins. It's episode 564, and we have plugins for Sliced Invoices, Woo Voices, Login Editor, Event Pro, WP Event, managing events, and ClassicPress options, all coming up on WordPress plugins from A to Z. WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress plugins from A to Z. Whoa, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever the hell you happen to be out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the Brewery Overlook here in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever lovely
Amber Overall.
And we have a usual great show for you today after last week's, simple show that I did. I hope everyone enjoyed it, those of you that listened to it anyway. And we're back on target. But don't forget, this is a value for value show, and we look forward to everyone providing some value back. You also want to hang out to the end of the show for the Q&A segment with Amber, which is always entertaining. And half of that sticks solely here on the YouTube channel, and the other half goes, the first half is for everybody here, and the second half is only on the YouTube channel. With that in mind, also, we are also moving to Odyssey eventually. Here in the next couple of weeks, we will be streaming both to Odyssey and YouTube. And after a couple of months, we're going to make the great break into just Odyssey alone. Mainly because of something YouTube did to our channel a couple of weeks ago. Just out of the blue, out of nowhere, they randomly selected one of our videos to be shut down for no apparent reason. None whatsoever. We're well behaved on this channel. If you don't believe us, go listen to our show on Odyssey. And anyway, that's all I have there, so I suppose.
Thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
This is, I put 22, but it's actually number 23 of 52 episodes for 2022. Hopefully everyone out there is doing well and keeping healthy. Just remember to keep taking your vitamin C and getting that sunshine, because although it's getting warmer, it is definitely time for allergies and springtime colds coming up. I got to experience that last week with my kids. That's not fun.
Oh, yeah. Came on you quite suddenly.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, sorry, I just got distracted by my cat who decided to try to climb on me.
Well, that's what your cat does every time.
So yeah, sunshine, awesome. Definitely find the time to get out there, enjoy the sunshine, get that vitamin D, keep yourself healthy. Don't forget that vitamin C, which you can also get just by eating a bunch of fruits and veggies. Winter is eventually going to leave. Summer is on its way, just not here yet.
Yeah, sure it is. All right. Well, I suppose we should just dive right into the news.
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! Thank you. And now the WordPress news with John Overall.
Nope, with Amber. I really got to change that.
You do. You don't really do news much anymore.
No, I don't. The occasional piece here and there.
So the first one I have is the WordPress vulnerability report for June 1st, 2022. The list for this week seems to have mostly lesser known plugins. Some of the ones that look familiar to me are Inline Google Maps, CAPA Protect, WP Lite, and Crosslinker. There are more, so be sure to check it out. There's no theme vulnerabilities this week.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Next up, WordPress has turned 19.
It has.
So, it's legal now.
What's interesting about WordPress, WordPress's birthday shares the same day as your brother.
Cool.
Except he's not 19.
This article talks about the history of WordPress and the changes that have come to it over time to bring it to where it is now. I found it interesting to read.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting to see WordPress's history, and I'm glad to have been part of WordPress's major growth sector. And I'm really hoping that they smarten up and don't continue too far down the crazy paths they're going now and get back to what they did well.
I think they will.
Yeah, maybe.
Next is Gutenberg 13.3 introduces experimental table of contents block. I'm actually kind of excited for this. It seems to be designed for long form content. What it does is it automatically detects heading blocks within the content and will display them with anchor links to jump to each section. I'm actually
nice.
looking forward to playing with this later.
Yeah, that can be very useful. That could be definitely very useful in it. The big problem I've got with it is I've got to figure out how to use Gutenberg block sort of stuff to see if any of it can be used with an Elementor, because I'm finding that as I'm building out a site, trying to build it out in Gutenberg, there's many things I can't do in Gutenberg,
Yeah.
not easily, and I'm going back to a theme builder for it because of what they've done. Now, their full site editing may make a difference, but not until it matures. And because I had tried their 2022 theme, I think it was the latest theme, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. Not to mention,
Yeah,
it hid things
it's like
which I
learning
expected.
a whole new language all over again.
It is. It'd be better if I didn't know anything and I was just getting started in WordPress. The problem is I have a lot of bad habits to unlearn before I can learn the new habits. So other than that, it's pretty useful. A lot of things in Gutenberg are getting they're starting to interest me, but don't know yet.
Next, I have community team has removed red tape from regional WordCamp applications. The red tape being talked about here refers to the proposal writings, which will no longer need to be written, and you can directly apply to organize a camp for your region using the regular WordCamp application form. Hopefully, this will make it easier to bring WordCamps to your area.
Yeah, they're going back to they're trying to go back to how easy it was in the beginning to create a WordCamp. They're probably
Like I said, they're doing good.
They're probably finding that all of the regulation they created made it so that people are like, this ain't worth the effort because I'm not making any money on this. I'm doing it solely to promote myself. And unfortunately, as many of us in the early years discovered, the WordPress community is notoriously cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Notoriously. And the people you attract to WordCamps are cheap. And you rarely ever get good clients out of it. I got one or two, but for the most part, that's not what it was about. It was about establishing your reputation. It did well for that, but other than that, it doesn't help provide for businesses. And a WordCamp cannot make a profit.
Next is backdoor baked into premium school management plugin for WordPress. This is a bit older of an article. It's from May 20th, but I've only just seen it. The plugin School Management by WebLizard was designed as a complete management solution for schools, and security researchers discovered a backdoor being used. It's done through PHP and was found by Jetpack. It has been worked on to be fixed, and there is an update. So if you have this plugin, or if one of your clients uses this plugin, make sure that the update is done if it hasn't already been done.
Where did the backdoor come from? Did they say? Was the plugin
I can't.
because if it was in the code of the plugin, it sounds like somebody building the code stuck it in there. That's an interesting one.
It was injected into the license checking code of the plugin, which allows any attacker to execute PHP code.
So this was a source hack.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the big scary hacks.
Yep.
When they go to the they call it the source. Source is my word, but it's I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically a source hack. Okay, well, pay attention if you use this plugin or know of it or know anyone using it. Make sure they get it up to date and get that hole plugged.
Yeah. Last one I have is a fun one. What happens when you combine psychedelics with cybernetics?
You get high
You get
robots.
cyberdelics.
You get high robots.
Well, actually, this is an interesting feller. He is working on creating. He's got a whole like list or a series on YouTube, and he's using an AI to create essentially a psychedelic trip, and he's essentially telling a story through his series. It looks really cool. I've watched these videos, very ranty for the first one. Second one is very much epiphany, and the third one kind of wraps it all together. I really love the effects in these videos.
Cool. Well,
Yeah, it's just
go watch
a
that
fun
for
one.
fun. Go watch that one for fun, folks. All right. With that, let's go celebrate those who support this show with their time, talent, and treasure.
It's time to donate to WP Plugins A to Z.
I love that jingle. So this show won't work without you, the producers. This is a value for value kind of show. If you find value in our show, toss some value back. Help keep the show going so we can keep on plugging. Show producers, this is where we like to take the time to thank everyone who supports the show. This week's show art is by Greg's Graphics, I think?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Greg's Graphics. He is our main guy. Without him, I don't know where we would be.
You'd have me creating the graphics, and they're not all that good.
Oh, they aren't nearly as good as Greg, man. Sorry.
No, I know. I once upon a time I did create good graphics, but that was before they made it harder and harder, and I had to keep up with the learning curve for doing the graphics, and I just couldn't be bothered, and so I got lazy. You know, I used to have good
really
graphics.
like this one. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this one's kind of cool. It's a nice volcano. Nice volcano on a mountain sky. Or a clear
Honestly,
sky.
it makes me think of the meteor shower that we never got to see because we had nothing but cloud.
Yes, I know. It was unfortunate for us.
But it kind of makes me think of the meteor shower, and it's like the volcano is shooting out stars. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really great shot. And I like the colors and the way it looks. And he just does a great job of shading everything, making it look good. So thanks again, Greg. We greatly appreciate your support of the show with all the artwork.
And we don't have any executive producers up on the stage this week. Maybe next week we'll get some. Executive producers are the ones coming in with $50 or more in donations. When you do executive producership, you can also send in a note that will be read out live on the show.
Yep, absolutely.
Backroom producers hanging out in the lounge. They are the ones who play the biggest part, like Greg's Graphics here. He is one of our backroom producers. He keeps us in with the art. They also help us with contests, site organization, send us in notes, questions, plugin suggestions, and they are the backbone of our thing. Other backroom producers are people who help out the show by hiring us. This is as good as donating. Plus, we get the added bonus of more experience to bring to our listeners here on the show.
Absolutely.
A big thank you to all the producers out there. We could not do this show without you. Remember to support support the show with your time, talent, or treasure. If you need a definition of those three things, we have the definition here. Go check out our notes.
Absolutely. All righty. Let's roll it right along then into what everyone shows up here for, finding out about the plugins we have available today. And what we got here, ClassicPress. We really don't have anything in ClassicPress, and really hoping that I'll find some time to go play with it and see what's up with it. But, you know.
Oh, hang on. We do have one new thing.
Oh, do we? What do we find?
Check out the new chats in the forum in ClassicPress. And there's WordPress does have a section devoted to plugins that are compatible with ClassicPress.
Not WordPress.
WordPress has a section devoted that are compatible with ClassicPress.
WordPress does?
WordPress.org.
Oh.
And then it's plugins, tags, ClassicPress. So they do have a section.
Oh,
and
okay.
there is a chat place for classicpress.net.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are our 2 new things that were added in.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, go check that stuff out, folks. And as far as WordPress plugins, I do have a couple of new ones here for you today. First one I've got for you is called Sliced Invoices WordPress Invoice Plugin. Now, this one came about because I needed to create separate invoices for my other business over at the Rogues Oasis. I needed to be able to send out specific invoices, and I wanted to be able to track them. And this is a nice little plugin that allows you to create invoices and or quotes on your site. And it works very nicely. It allows you to create or use users on your site, to set up taxes, to use the invoices to collect income via PayPal or some of the other, if you go to the premium versions, if the premium version for some of the other payment systems, you can put your logo into the invoice. It makes single line item payments, a whole lot of stuff here. It's a really nice tool for managing invoices out of your website. And when combined with a plugin further on, it will work with your WooCommerce website too. So really great plugin. Most everything you need is free and readily available. And I just found it really great. And it's not often I give a plugin that's got a pro version of 5, but this one's doing such a great job. I just have to give it a 5 dragon rating. It's called Slice Invoices WordPress Invoice Plugin.
That does sound really useful.
Yeah, it's quite useful. I found it very useful for the Oasis because I'm doing work that doesn't naturally get billed through the e-commerce store. And I need to be able to invoice to collect the money.
Just before I get into my first plugin, a quick note for anyone who is using Cut the Lights plugin. I recently did a review of this. If you recently updated your WordPress to 6.0, you might think that Cut the Lights isn't working, but it is. You need to go to Cut the Lights dashboard, choose Disable Save Changes, then Enable Save Changes. Kind of like turning it off and on again. It still works. It's just a little glitchy with the newest version of WordPress, but once you've turned it off and on, it works just like before.
Cool.
So my first plugin is Event Registry. I'm having a hard time talking today. Event Registration Pro Calendar. This plugin was designed with visitors to the site in mind. It's a calendar where events can be made by the visitor as well as the site owner. You will find the dashboard for this plugin on the left-hand side of the menu under Event Registration Pro. There is a bit of a learning curve, though. I played around with it for a bit and found myself feeling confused more than a couple of times. I think a walkthrough or tutorial may be useful for those not wanting to deal with the confusion while figuring this out on their own. This plugin has some great points, even though it has not been updated for 2 years now. There is a lot of personalization options for your viewers, a lot of detail options, and you are able to see reports of the previous months. Despite the positives, I honestly felt kind of meh about this plugin. It looks alright, though not awesome, and the setup is great, though a bit hard to wrap your head around easily at first. I rate it at 3 dragons.
Yeah, that's too bad. All right, the next one I've got here for you is Woo Invoices, Quotes and Invoices. When you use this plugin, combined with the one I just talked about, Sliced Invoices, what it allows you to do is it allows you to create invoices inside your WooCommerce store. Invoices and quotes. And you can use your WooCommerce store for your billing collection, payment collection, etc. through this. It takes a little bit of work to get set up and functioning, but once it's working, it works very nicely together. And like I said, it did take me a little bit to figure out a few of the things in it, but on the whole, I found it to be quite a successful plugin. And if you were to add in their PDF Invoices extension, you could easily print the quotes and invoices by PDF to your client. So There's a whole lot that this one has to offer to make your life of invoicing and quotes a lot easier through your existing WooCommerce store, if you've got a WooCommerce store like I do, which is actually selling products also. So anyway, this was a nice way to combine products and invoices and quotes all in the same area. So go check this one out. It's called Woo Invoices, Quotes and Invoices, and I give it a 5 Dragon rating.
That is really cool. Next one I have is WP Event Manager. Easily build your calendar of events. I thought this plugin was designed for your site users to use, though it turns out it is just for the site owner to use to create events. The setup is great, very easy to use, looks great, plays well with others, and offers to build the various pages needed to make this go properly for you. It could be a fantastic plugin for those who need to create events on their site for their users to view. I rate it at 4 dragons.
Yeah, that could be useful. And for those that do nothing but their own events and don't let their users create them, this could be quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the final one I've got for you here is a login page editor. And for those of you that have had to change your login page, there's dozens and dozens of ways you can change your login page. Different plugins, different code you can throw in, all kinds of things to change out the login from the default plain, simple WordPress login to like add your company logo, modify the login, add reCAPTCHA, etc., etc. This is another one of those plugins, and I'm always looking at these from time to time just to see what's available. And this one here allows you to go in quite easily and simply change it right up by editing the style of the page. You know, change background colors, images, logos, overlays, form background, color radius, button color, button hover. So basically you can personalize it up quite a bit to make it a nice, simple, easy look and clean. And do it very quickly and easily without a lot of muss and fuss. So on the whole, a really great plugin. It's Login Page Editor, and I give it a 5 Dragon rating.
Nice. Last one I have is Events Manager. Once activated, you will find the dashboard for this under Events in the left-hand menu. So just look for Events, don't look for Events Manager. This plugin was designed for event creation with both site owners and site users in mind. It takes a little getting used to and a bit of building out of the pages to get them the way you like them, though the amount of personalization available in this is pretty awesome. It seems to play well with others, and you have the option to make it possible for just signed-in users to create events or simply guests. You can have it either way or both. There is a lot of possibility with this plugin, though I think it would take a bit to learn it all. It's not as confusing as the first one I was talking about, but it does take a bit of a learning curve. But I do like it. It looks nice. It works well. I rate it at 4 dragons.
Very cool. Lots of events calendars today.
Yep.
All right.
We've got some listener feedback.
Well, kick it out.
All right. Short show last week without Amber. Hope she's feeling better this week. Good info as always, John. Glad you carried on. I learned a great deal from you both. Keep up the great work. An avid listener.
There you go. Thank you, avid
Thanks,
listener.
avid listener.
All right. And, of course, our contest is not running right now. We'll try and pull something together in the next 3 weeks. Just been preoccupied with many, many other things. And we will get that back as soon as possible. We need to cover out a couple of things before we move into the Q&A segment. Oh, hang on a second.
Something happened?
Speaker at the other or computer at the other side of the room decided to start playing the show.
It wanted to be part of the show, or at least wanted to say something to you.
Yeah, well, I have never figured out why it does that randomly. All right.
Maybe it's got a loose wire.
Could be. All right, cover up a couple of things. First off, we want to cover out the plugins that we covered in this show. The ones I got were Sliced Invoices, WordPress Invoice plugin, which I gave a 5 to. The Woo Invoices, Quotes and Invoices, which I gave a 5 to, and the Login Page Editor, which I gave a 5 to.
And I cover Event Registration Pro Calendar, which I rated at 3. WP Event Manager, Easily Build Your Calendar of Events, which I rated at 4. And Events Manager, which I rated at 4.
All right, and a couple of other quick things. We do have a meetup planned for June 25th. For those that are on Vancouver Island or making a trip here at that point, you might want to come by the meetup. You got to go register for it, RSVP, so we know how many people are attending, and also so I can tell you how to get there because it is at the Oasis. So to do that, just go to wpplugins.com/meetup, and you'll get all the information there you need to register for the meetup. Also, if you'd like to be in an interview show, you can reach out to me at wpplugins.com/interview. And if you have suggestions on plugins you'd like to have reviewed, please submit them on the website at wpplugins.com, submit plugins. And what this is for, it doesn't even have to be your plugin, could be your friends or one you like or one you think we should cover to share with all the other people in the world. Just reach out, fill out the form, and we will get it into the show for you. All right, it is that time.
It's question and answer time.
Good, Amber.
So before I get started, if anyone out there has any questions they'd like to have asked on the show, send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca, and we will get them answered to the best of our ability. Maybe we can stump my dad. First question. What could cause a compressed zip7 file to become corrupted?
It got corrupted when it was being compressed. It got corrupted when it was being transferred. Corruption happens for all kinds of reasons. The memory it passed through might have been a faulty block of memory. Remember, every time you move or copy a file or save a file, you're not moving the original. You're making another digital copy of it. There was once a theory about the digital copy fade. It's like, have you ever taken a piece of paper, something on paper, photocopied it, then photocopied the photocopy, then photocopied the photocopy, then photocopied the photocopy?
Eventually it fades away.
Eventually it fades away. That's been a theory for digital data for a long time. No proof behind it, but every time they make a copy, a small minuscule amount of it gets cut away. So that could be the problem too. Copies, and of course, every time you move data around on your computer, it's like if you move it from one hard drive to another, or from your hard drive to a flash drive, it doesn't go directly to the flash drive. It first passes through the memory of your computer, from that memory into the new storage device. And if there's a faulty memory block in that memory, and that data happens to pass through that faulty memory block, that one piece of data can become corrupted, which will corrupt the entire file.
Okay.
So.
Next question. Say you add something to an external hard drive in a compressed file. You check it, and it's fine. Unzips, no problem. Later on, you come back and try to unzip it from the external hard drive, and it is now corrupted. What could cause that?
Degradation of the storage device. You gotta remember.
What causes degradation of storage devices?
Virtually, unless you're using an SSD or a flash drive. Yeah, why not, Temdian? You're being censored. I saw that pop up. I'm like, what a bit? Oh, he's being censored. He put too long, didn't read. Zip file corruption. Occasionally shit happens. And YouTube censored that comment, probably because of shit.
Probably. This is part of the reason why we're moving over to Odyssey.
Yeah, for something as simple as that. I mean, come on. Really, YouTube? Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, they accused us of spamming, is what they accused us of doing. At any rate, the corruption, you got to remember, unless it's an SSD, all of your data storage is magnetic. SSD and flash drives are the exception. They're not magnetic. But hard drives are magnetic, and a lot of external storage devices, depending on how old they are still a magnetic storage spinning device. If it's an SSD device, well, it could just be a corruption in the block. But all storage devices fade over time. and corruption just creeps in. It just degrades, natural breakdown of the materials. And that's
Okay.
what corrupts data on storage devices, is natural breakdown over time. But the biggest one is the magnetic storage devices, because the magnetism eventually dissipates.
All right. So as you can tell, all my questions here are rather connected. This is my third one. Say you have been using an external hard drive for a while, and it's all good. One day you go to use it, and it says that the hard drive is corrupted. And since you already explained what causes hard drives to fail, the secondary thing is you try a different, newer external hard drive. It says that this one is also corrupted. Would this be a coincidence, do you think, or could there be something going on with your computer corrupting these hard drives?
Well, we'll talk about that one when we come back, after we let our girl take us on out of here.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsa2z.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA2Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
Alrighty. So what we're looking at here, if you've been using an external drive, it's good. Then you go to use it, it says it's corrupted. You try a newer drive, and it says that one's also corrupted. First thing I would do is suspect the cables.
Cables?
I would suspect the cables being used to connect them. And I would swap out the cables being used to connect them. And if that didn't work, then I would suspect the port of the computer for being a problem. And if that didn't work, I would suspect the drives themselves and start to think about where were they stored? How were they stored? Were they bumped around a lot? Got to remember, older hard drives can't handle too much being bumped around. Even the old remote storage devices, they weren't able to handle a whole lot of being bumped around. They could handle some, but any big jolts could damage them. So that's what I would have. Otherwise, it could just be an unfortunate coincidence. Again, back to Hemdian's comment. Occasionally, shit happens, and there's really not much you can do about it. And all you can do is go, wow, because if the data on there was something really super critical, you could pay to have the data removed manually, because I'm not sure how they do it with SSD drives, but the old disk drives, they could go in there and take the drive apart in a clean room and then do a laser etching of it and remove all the data. Very expensive. But for some data, it's worthwhile. Not all data. Here we go.
Oh, I've heard of that kind of issue, yeah.
Hemdian once had a client with multiple remote sites in third world countries. Each was responsible for their own backups. One day, had to access the backup for a particular site and found they'd been using the same magnetic tape over and over and over again. It was now transparent. Oh, yeah. So yeah, there's another problem that occurs too. That was back in the day when we used to use magnetic tapes. But yeah, well, and backups. I used to make multiple backups I still make multiple backups in different sources because I don't trust any one source for maintaining my data. I've already had that problem once in my life, and I lost a lot of data. So I started backing it up on multiple devices.
Which makes sense.
The important data anyway, stuff I don't care about, I don't really bother backing up because, well, data storage eats up a lot of space. I've got terabytes and terabytes of data storage now.
We need that jingle, backup of the backup of the backup of the backup.
I might have
Always
that.
verify your backups. Absolutely. Make sure they are working before you put any kind of trust and reliance into them.
Yeah. Yeah, or you could just live with
Glitch.
glitches occur.
They absolutely do.
I don't have the backup jingle.
No,
Not
you
handy.
need to get it though.
I probably do have it somewhere. I just don't have it on my board. Just don't have it on my
you
board.
terrible person. How could you not have that one?
Yeah, well, it is what it is. But yeah, it's data storage is kind of an odd thing, and I've seen good and bad over the years. And I've done both good and bad mistakes with my data storage over the years. So, and the new SSD drives are the ones that are always interesting to me because those are just large flash drives is all they are, and I don't know how they would possibly recover data from them. I understand they can, but I never bothered to learn how it was done. So, but yeah, that's really all there is to it. If you got backups and you're dealing with it, I'd start with either cables, ports, or the drives are faulty. But when I have two in a row, I always go to the cables and ports first to make sure.
Quick question. You said think about how your hard drives have been stored. What are some common ways that people store their drives that are actually damaging them?
Well, let's think. They store them in places that might get exposed to high-powered magnets.
What about stacking them one on top of the other on a shelf?
That doesn't seem to impact them. I have a big cardboard box of every hard drive I've ever owned. I've only got 3 that I can't read from, and that's because I dropped them from a height of about a foot and a half onto a hardwood floor. And that instantly
testing their durability. I see.
No, they were on the edge of my desk, and I spun around with my chair, and the arm of my chair caught them.
No. You don't admit that. You say you are testing its durability.
Yeah, well, the durability wasn't all that good. But anyway,
yes, you proved this.
I haven't checked them in a few years now. But a few years ago, I got one of those external plug-in things you can plug into any hard drive, and I bought myself a large 8 terabyte drive, and I think most of those things fit into my 8 terabyte drive. And because they were all old small drives ranging in size from the massive 10 gigabyte drive all the way up to 200 gigabyte drives, because they're all my original drives from the late 90s all the way up. But I sat there loading up drives and then copying files off them, so I could move them to a newer drive. And newer storage.
It's tedious and time-consuming, but a very good idea.
Yeah, it's tedious and time-consuming, and periodically it's something you should do. Anytime you've got storage of data, periodically, once every year or two, you should move it to a new device.
Even if you haven't filled up your device?
Yeah, even if you haven't, you should just move it to a new one or copy it to a new device so that you have an extra backup.
Okay.
And so I've found that, and I stored them in a cardboard box, all stacked up on top of one another. Now, granted, most of them were stored inside a anti-static bag, But I had a lot of them that weren't. They were just stacked. In fact, if I look up in the cubby of my desk, I can see 12 hard drives stacked in the cubby of my desk in there. Actually, more than that, because there's some laptop drives in there too. Every time I've gotten rid of a computer, first thing I do is yank the hard drive out of it and I stick it somewhere.
Yeah, it's the best. That's the best policy. Hemdian said something. Once worked for a client where the operators were religious in making backups. One day needed to restore a backup and was told we don't do that. Then what's the freaking point?
That's right. Yeah, if you're making backups for a reason. You're making backups so that you can restore if you have to.
Yeah.
And I have done that. So my big mistake that cost me was when I had my computer store, I made my religious backups every single day. And a corruption crept in that I didn't notice. And that corruption was there for almost a month. And somebody told me, you don't need to keep you don't need to keep more than 15 days of backups. Well, I kept 45 days of backups. And when the corruption crept in, I'm like, oh, fuck, I wonder what happened. I went to restore the previous day's backup. It was corrupted. The previous day's backup, it was corrupted. I had to go back 12 to 15, I can't remember. I had to go back quite a ways to find an uncorrupted version of the backup. I lost several weeks of data, of sales data, but I didn't lose all my data.
Which is why having a large amount of backups is a really good idea.
Yeah, having a large amount of backups. And having a large amount of backups has saved me and my clients many times. I had a client who came back to me after 3 years, and they had massive problems and they couldn't recover. And I looked and I was like, look, I haven't turfed out your backup from a couple of years ago. We can use that to restore a lot of your stuff, but you're going to lose a lot of stuff, everything that's newer. Well, it was better than losing everything.
Yeah.
Because they had years of stuff beyond what I had beyond. So it's like, backing up. Yeah, that's basically it. Backing up the corruption. That's what I was doing. I was backing up the corruption. Because, it's really kind of odd how things like that can occur. But backups are very important. So on that note, I think we will call it a show. Off we go.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill.
righty, folks. That's all we got for you now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.